This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision?
Stephen A. Smith has stunned the sports world with a revelation no one saw coming. According to reports, Caitlin Clark has walked away from Team USA following her removal from the Olympic roster. This is no longer just talk. The biggest voice in sports media has confirmed what many already believed. She's done chasing approval from those who never truly backed her. The brightest star in basketball has gone quiet, yet the impact is echoing loudly across the game. This moment could reshape the future of women's basketball. Do you think stepping away was the right move, or should she have battled harder for her place? Share your thoughts below.
She's white. And because of that, when you consider some of the hard times other people gave her, they were resentful of the fact that this white girl came on the scene where there was a bunch of sisters that preceded her spanning decades that were big time that deserved a lot of credit. I mean, people looked at the Cheryl Swoops of the world, the Maya Moores of the world, and others, and they said, yo, there was a bunch of people that came before her that did big things for the WNBA. I respect it. It is right. I appreciate it. But whiteness does have its privileges, especially when you got a game. And what a lot of people weren't willing or were a bit reluctant to appreciate was the game on this young white sister of ours. She can ball. And oh, by the way, she was a great ambassador for the game. And by the way, she came in there and looked out for everybody else. For 22 years, they couldn't get chartered flights. That sister got there and it was done in 2 weeks. That's who Caitlin Clark is.
Stephen A. Smith doesn't push a narrative this aggressively unless something major is unfolding behind the scenes, and his recent comments about Caitlin Clark and Team USA went far beyond simple criticism of a roster decision, instead exposing long-standing systemic issues inside women's basketball that have been quietly building for years and have now burst into public view. Because what is usually a routine Olympic announcement, where USA Basketball releases the names, fans react briefly, and the news cycle moves on, turned into outrage once it became clear that the same player responsible for selling out arenas that had been empty for decades was left off the roster, leaving the entire basketball community struggling to understand how the most popular figure in the women's game could possibly be excluded.
What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting, as well as the hate and anger towards Caitlin Clark?
When it comes to Caitlin Clark, now I've taken hits because I was calling it from day one. You got people that are resentful towards her. It's really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents. Before she ever came along, there were a lot of outstanding basketball players who happened to be black females that was doing their thing on the WNBA level, and they never got this kind of shine. This girl, the Golden Goose, comes along, and she wreaks havoc. She's a star caliber player who draws this attention. And maybe it's because that fan base that she has and her being a young white lady contributes to it. So what? Benefit from it.
The selection committee's official reasoning sounded flimsy from the very beginning, leaning on experience benchmarks and a so-called 3-year commitment to the core group, which may appear logical on paper, but completely ignores what Caitlin Clark actually represents to the sport. Because you don't leave generational talent behind the way you wouldn't sideline Michael Jordan for being new or keep Tiger Woods off a major for not waiting long enough. You take the best player, the biggest attraction, and you put them on the plane. That's how elite sports operate when they're run correctly. But the situation turned far more disturbing when insiders began suggesting this decision wasn't a simple evaluation mistake at all, and was instead a calculated signal, with sources indicating the committee feared how veteran players might react to her presence and the nonstop media storm that follows her, meaning the feelings of established stars were prioritized over growing the game and maximizing global exposure, which is exactly where Stephen A. Smith drew a hard line, publicly condemning not just the decision, but the deeper logic behind choosing comfort over competitiveness in business reality, then methodically dismantling every justification on national television with an argument that was both devastatingly simple and impossible to dismiss. The Olympics is a once-every-4 years global stage, the one moment when casual fans who usually ignore women's basketball finally tune in. A sport that has long struggled for viewership suddenly has a player driving record TV numbers and selling out arenas in markets that couldn't give tickets away the year before. And the committee's answer was to leave her at home.
Are we really trying to grow the game? Because this is the most popular women's basketball player in the world, and it ain't close. They had to move the Mystics game to an NBA arena. Name the time. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I don't want to get long-winded. I want somebody, one of our women colleagues, Stephen A., to tell me when a WNBA game has had to be moved because of a woman player. Just one. Just tell me one. Because I know in her attendance, she's averaging about 17,000. All the other WNBA games in which she's not a participant average about 7. So are we really trying to go to game? Is that what we're really trying to do? Or are we just talking about we're trying to grow the game and just bull-jiving?
Stephen A. Smith described the situation as a marketing catastrophe on a historic scale, arguing that Team USA no longer relies on roster decisions to secure gold medals because they win almost by default due to the massive talent gap between the United States and the rest of the world, to the point where even a college all-star squad could likely dominate, which means the real objective should have been expanding the sport, strengthening the brand, and permanently pulling new audiences into women's basketball. But by excluding Caitlin Clark, he said the decision-makers exposed that they care more about internal power structures and protecting egos than the actual long-term success of the game, even suggesting that the level of mismanagement is so extreme it's hard to explain without considering intentional wrongdoing, because they didn't simply miss a chance for growth, they outright rejected it. And according to Smith, this level of disrespect is something Clark will not forget, hinting that bridges may already be permanently burned, and that her inner circle is carefully tracking every individual who chose to remain silent throughout the ordeal.
But the WNBA does. You got a max salary at $250,000. You had attendance, although it was trending in the right direction, certainly wasn't where you wanted it to be. And as Shannon pointed out, just the other day, you got a team in the Indiana Fever with their struggling selves, struggling to win a damn game and be relevant. No team in the WNBA was worse other than the winless Washington Mystics, okay? And they went from 4,000 in attendance to 17,000. This girl is box office. I said a rising tide lifts all boats. What you do, especially if you're Team USA and you're trying to be globalized, and there's an opportunity to globalize the WNBA brand. So people like Brittany Griner, God bless her soul, and others don't have to go to Russia in the off season.
To fully understand why Caitlin Clark isn't in Paris right now, we have to confront the jealousy factor, the uncomfortable truth the WNBA establishment has avoided discussing publicly. Yet it's the only explanation that makes sense of all the pieces, because the warning signs began before Clark even played her first professional game, when Diana Taurasi famously remarked that reality is coming for her, a comment that sounded less like advice and more like a veiled threat. Then came Cheryl Swoops questioning Clark's college records and claiming her dominance was due to excessive shot attempts, criticism that felt personal rather than analytical, raising the question, why were these legends so threatened by a 22-year-old who hadn't yet stepped on a professional court, actively attempting to undermine her accomplishments before she had the chance to prove herself, which aligns with the theory Stephen A. Smith has repeatedly highlighted. The old guard resents the attention Clark commands, having spent their careers in near-empty arenas, flying commercial, grinding out professional success for minimal pay and little mainstream recognition, while now a young player from Iowa arrives with private jets ready, multi-million-dollar Nike deals, and fans queuing around city blocks before she's even played her first pro game.
You make decisions, marketing. I want people watching. I want eyeballs. I want advertising dollars. Why? Because he'll get paid. Y'all will get paid. And guess who else will get paid? You see where I'm coming from? That's what it's about. Stop acting otherwise. We know this. You don't sit up there and pass on Caitlin Clark. It was stupid, Team USA. It was a dumb decision.
It's natural to feel envy in situations like this, but in most professional sports, veterans usually welcome rookies who boost the sport financially because everyone benefits, as seen when Tiger Woods revolutionized golf, and other players profited from higher prize money and sponsorship deals. Yet in the WNBA, the reaction has been strikingly different, with some players seemingly more interested in punishing Caitlin Clark for her popularity than leveraging it, a toxic environment that might explain why she could feel a quiet relief at missing the Olympic roster, especially since the resentment has spilled onto the court in ways raising serious safety concerns, as anyone watching closely can see that Clark is targeted more aggressively than others, not within the bounds of normal defense, but through plays that clearly cross the line, with the Kennedy Carter incident being the most visible example, where Clark was blindsided with a hip check while the ball wasn't in play, and Carter appeared to deliver a deliberate cheap shot. Yet the league did not suspend her immediately, nor did veteran players rush to defend Clark or condemn the illegal contact. No, many players and media figures have actually rationalized the treatment, calling it a welcome to the league mentality and suggesting Clark needed to toughen up and accept it, which Stephen A. Smith highlighted as a glaring double standard, noting that if a superstar like LeBron James or Steph Curry had been cheap shot by a lesser-known player, the league would have handed down immediate suspensions to protect its high-profile asset. Yet with Caitlin Clark, it seemed open season. This context directly ties into the Olympic situation, because why would Clark want to spend a month abroad with teammates who either participated in or silently condoned this treatment, given that the roster largely consists of women who have made her professional life difficult for months, erasing any trust and making genuine team chemistry impossible while creating an environment that would be toxic at best and dangerous at worst, which leads to the rumored soft quit after the initial roster announcement and massive backlash. USA Basketball reportedly offered Clark a standby role, essentially a consolation prize, allowing the committee to save face without giving her a true spot. But sources indicate she had zero interest in being a backup plan, politely but firmly communicating that if she wasn't valued enough for the main roster, she wouldn't wait in the wings hoping for an injury to give her playing time, quietly withdrawing her availability without a press conference or public outburst, which constitutes the soft quit. Stephen A. Smith's recent remarks strongly reinforce this perspective, suggesting that Caitlin Clark has fully recognized her own power and leverage in this situation, as she has essentially become the driving economy of the WNBA. She doesn't need Team USA to grow her brand, but Team USA needed her to boost theirs and improve television ratings, and by stepping away to rest her body instead, she is sending a clear message that the committee made their choices and now must deal with the consequences, a strategic move reflecting remarkable maturity and business acumen, frustrating the establishment that expected her to beg for a backup role and express gratitude for scraps, while she enjoys a break as they play in front of audiences likely reduced by half without her presence. And the numbers speak for themselves. The Clark effect is real and measurable, with games featuring her drawing 300% to 400% higher ratings than games without her, arenas selling out completely, and opposing teams needing to shift games to larger NBA venues to meet demand, making her a literal economic stimulus for the league, a point Smith hammered home repeatedly.